That breaking news coming from General Motors at Chevy brand, once called the heartbeat of America. Now the company is on life support. Thank you, Tia. After 51 years, losing the Buick Open would be a major blow to the community that's rallied behind the event for decades. Saginaw fire crews busy overnight. Several abandoned homes went up in flames. Investigators tell us with the warm weather on the way, it's something they're expecting to see a lot more of. Powerful storms rolled through mid-Michigan last night and early this morning. One of the area's hardest hit, Shiawassee County. Take a look at the damage. Now area residents are spending the day cleaning it all up. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amy Andrews. Right now, folks are cleaning up after 3 tornadoes touched down in western Michigan. The National Weather Service says 2 tornadoes hit Kalamazoo Saturday night. The fallout continues after some harsh words from Rush Limbaugh about the city of Flint. It all started when Limbaugh got word of a plan by Genesee County Land Bank Chair Dan Kildee to shrink the city by cutting off dying neighborhoods. Still no word tonight on whether a 13-year-old boy will face charges for stabbing his own sister. Police say the boy stabbed his 10-year-old sister in the eye last night in Bay City. The girl was treated for lacerations to her eyelid. Local growers put their fresh fruits and veggies on display every weekend at area farmers markets, but the cool temperatures and recent soggy conditions could be putting a damper on their season. Mother Nature just can't make up her mind. It rainy this morning, then the sun came out and it was glorious.
Just trying to make everybody happy by giving them a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of rain.
Just trying to please everyone. Thanks, Cindy.
So.
A year after filming right here in mid-Michigan, the movie Street Boss has finally hit the big screen. Last night, the world premiere of the film, the debut was shown at Saginaw's Temple Theater. More than 1,700 people turned out for the event. The movie was written by Saginaw-based FBI agent Phil Kirby. It tells the story of how the FBI brought down one of Detroit's most infamous mobsters. Lining up for food today, hundreds of people came to the Old Town Christian Outreach Center for the chance to grab some free groceries. TV5's Adrienne Broaddus was there. She has the story all new at 6. Still in the hospital tonight, a Saginaw County firefighter who lost his arm in a farming accident. It's a story we first brought to you as it was breaking last night at 11. What stunning news about the Buick Open.
Unbelievable, but it makes sense with all the problems that GM has had.
Enjoy covering it this year,
Yeah.
I guess. Not a very convenient time to be out on the roadways. These shovels are definitely getting a workout today. You know, to even leave your driveway, a lot of people are faced with this because the snow plows actually plow all the snow up from the roads. So once you get done digging out that, you're left to face these streets. And let me tell you, the roads are treacherous. As I walked down Ward Street earlier today, almost everyone I spoke with remembered the violent murder of Kimberly Currington, and many of them were surprised to hear an arrest had finally been made, especially her mother.
It's been so long.
It has been a long time, 20 years, ma'am.
It's been so long.
Saginaw resident Lula Tinsley could hardly believe it when we told her her daughter's suspected killer had finally been captured after 2 decades.
We've been praying for this for a long time.
In February of 1989, 28-year-old Kimberly Currington was assaulted in this home at 1616 Ward Street as her 3 young children prepared for school. When they returned that afternoon, the oldest son, Archie, found her bludgeoned to death.
What made it so bad, he left her there for her kids. And he really messed her up.
Local authorities had a suspect on their radar for many years, but it wasn't until the Saginaw City Violent Crime Task Force, experts from the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, a pathologist, and a forensic odontologist joined forces that they were finally able to secure the evidence they needed to put the suspected murderer behind bars. Currington's mother, who's lived just a block away from the crime scene all these years, says she hopes to work up the courage to attend the court proceedings.
I could face him, but I don't know as I can face the pictures of her.
Tinsley says she can finally live in peace now that the suspected killer is in jail. But there's just one thing left she needs to do. She wants to thank the detective who promised her 20 years ago he wouldn't rest until Kimberly's murderer was caught.
Oh, thank God for him. Thank God for him. I know he told me that he wasn't going to give up.
Burton officials went door to door and sent out this vague press release to the media, and tonight some are wondering if it was enough.
My heart was about ready to fall out, I think, when I first saw them walk down the road.
With With choppers overhead and armed soldiers marching down her street in the middle of the night, Burton resident Cassie Bombach thought for certain something terrible was going on.
The very first thing I thought was, how are we going to get out of here?
The Bombach family was spending a typical night at home when they heard the steady chop of a military helicopter overhead, close enough to rattle their walls. And a few hours later,
What we thought were neighbors walking down the street, when they got a little closer, it was just like 50 to 100 soldiers on both sides of the road, probably 5 feet in between each. Some of them were going up driveways or going through ditches. They were walking the sidewalks. They fully armed.
Vietnam veteran Bob Bittner, who lives a block away, heard the commotion and grabbed his video camera.
I think it's pretty cool. I don't know. He probably got a lot of people excited.
As it turns out, this quiet Burton neighborhood at the corner of Dort Highway and Bristol Road was not under siege. The military Special Operations Unit is using the area for urban training. While the missions are classified, we did learn they're used to help special forces adapt to being in unfamiliar urban areas overseas before they're thrust into combat.
I think since they were going to be here in our neighborhood, we should have been informed with like a letter on our door. It probably would have taken them maybe an hour to walk around the neighborhood here.
Bombach says she doesn't mind having the training in her backyard. She just wishes she would have known about it. Controversy is brewing over a proposed federal beer tax, but Saginaw Township residents Kurt Valley and Alan Matthews are avoiding the issue altogether before it comes to a head. The pair make their own beer at home.
If you can make bread, you can make beer.
Those who rely on Anheuser-Busch or Labatt for their frosty cold beverages are having a hard time swallowing the proposed $2 a case hike.
For people who are making minimum wage, they work all day, they like to come home and have a beer or something, and that's just going to make it harder and harder for people.
That's not cool because they're already raising taxes on the cigarettes. Like, what else? There's nothing left to do.
It's so ridiculous. Everybody's having a hard time. This is kind of a lot of people's escape.
So what are your options if you don't want to pay out the nose for an ale? Buy your own beer making kit.
You can get an intro kit for $100 at the most. Mostly consists of a couple plastic buckets and some tubing.
Once you have your kit, you really only need 4 things to make beer at home. You need some hops, some yeast, some malt, and most importantly, don't forget the water.
You'll start off and boil your water, then you'll add your malt, and then you add your hops on a certain schedule depending on how you want the beer to taste.
When it comes down to it, you can save some big bucks even if the beer tax isn't passed.
Typically, if you were to go into a store and buy the equivalent amount of beer, it would be approximately $70, where if you make it yourself, it would cost roughly about $40.
And at the end of the day, you might have more than a little extra change in your pocket.
It's more flavorful, more interesting beer, and there's a pride in knowing that you did it yourself.
Right now, police, fire crews, the tow truck, they are pulling the car out of the house as we speak. You can see it over my shoulder. The awful thing is that the victims may still be inside the vehicle. Just a few minutes ago, family members arrived on scene, started screaming, tried to cross the police line, and had to be restrained. Just one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. The stillness of the evening was shattered by the sound of splintering wood and crunching metal Wednesday when an Oldsmobile sedan slammed into this home on Chevrolet Avenue. Flint resident Evelyn Turner heard the whole thing happen.
I just heard like something say, and a big boom. And when I came outside, by it being so dark, you couldn't see nothing. So I looked and I didn't see nothing, so I closed the door. Then about 10 minutes later, you heard all the fire trucks, the ambulance and everything, and it was a car over there.
Police say 3 men in their early 20s were in the car. 2 of those men pronounced dead at the scene, the third clinging to life. According to officers, extreme speed was a factor in the crash. Neighbors stood by and watched the aftermath of the violent collision and say it's not a scene they'll soon forget.
It's really sad. It's very sad. I was really emotional about this. It's a tragedy. It's really sad.
Again, right now, police and fire crews pulling that mangled vehicle out of the house. I guess the only bright side of this whole thing is that no one was in the house when the crash occurred. No one inside the house was injured. Again, 2 men are dead tonight, a third clinging to life.